Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Monday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino. He's Matt Citak. We'll be here for the next hour to talk New York Giants football with you, talk about the Commanders game yesterday, as well as any other NFL news that you might want to discuss. There were some big injuries yesterday that caused headlines and ripples throughout the remainder of the NFL. And so certainly we would open up the phones to that as well. Our number is 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. As always, we come to you from the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. You can find us at hashtag Giants Chat as well, if that's the way you prefer to get to us on Twitter. And our entire programming slate is available on the Giants Podcast Network, the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. And oh yes, by the way, if you're not watching us on giants.com or the app, you can watch us on YouTube, because we also simulcast on the New York Giants page on youtube.com. All right, Matt, we might as well get right to it. We talked to Mike Kafka this morning. In his media briefing, he did say the Giants came through injury-free as far as he knew. He did have to have another meeting with the medical staff shortly after the call, but did not anticipate that there would be any lingering injury issues. And maybe that's the best thing that came out of the game, short of the fact that Abdul Carter absolutely had a bust-out game, the kind of game that all of us believe he should be able to have on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the injury front news is just about the only good news coming out of yesterday's game. I mean, you're right, Abdul, but I believe it was Brian Burns after the game in the locker room said it was Abdul's coming out party. But yeah, Abdul was great. But I mean, as just about anyone in the locker room would tell you, a great performance like that doesn't mean a whole lot if the team ends up losing the game, which is obviously what happened. I mean, you talk about needing to play complementary football, and what we saw yesterday was kind of just whatever the opposite of that is. I mean, the Giants were just outplayed on all three sides of the ball. On offense in the first half, the Giants just could not get anything going. As good of a second half as Jackson Dart had, and he did have a great second half. First half, the numbers, not that great. Not good at all. On defense, I mean, it's just more of the same issues that the Giants have had on the defensive side of the ball all season. Really struggling to stop the run. Marcus Mariota, only completed just over 50% of his passes, but just for 211 yards, a touchdown, did enough. Didn't turn the ball over, Mariota, that is. But Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt averaging over 5 yards per carry. Again, same issues the Giants have been dealing with on the defensive side of the ball all season. And then I don't really know what's going on with the special teams, because for a good chunk of the season, the Giants special teams unit had been performing the best we've seen it in years. And it just seems like things have just completely fallen apart the last couple of games. I mean, yes, there are the two missed field goals from Koo, both of which were over 50 yards, but still, an NFL kicker, you think there's a good chance he's going to hit at least one of them, if not both. And then just the coverage, the special teams coverage units. Again, the Giants were top 10 in punt return coverage and kick return coverage for a significant portion of the season. And the last couple of games, it's similar to kind of everything else. It's just completely gotten away from them. I mean, the punt return touchdown was bad. It was bad. And it's hard to highlight any good from this game with how much bad there was, unfortunately.
I don't know that I totally agree with you, but
on what?
Here's what I will say. There were plenty of good things in this game too. And to be honest with you, the punt return is set up by a line drive kick right down the middle of the field by a punter who just got here a couple of days ago. He kicks a 55-yarder, outkicks his coverage, and he kicks a line drive down the middle of the field, and that's what sets up the return. That's the problem. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is Zaire Barnes misses a tackle. And then the third mistake is Johnston, the punter, also misses a tackle. Those were the two guys who had a shot at the return guy. But it's all set up by the line drive kick down the middle of the field. We heard from Coach Gobriel that it was ball placement in New England on the punt that was the beginning of that problem on the return for a touchdown against the Patriots. Now, yeah, that's bad. That's bad. What did we see that was good? Well, I thought Tyrone Tracy had a heck of a game. I thought he ran the ball effectively, did some good things in the passing game. We saw another couple of very bad, costly drops by Slayton, one for a first down on a third down conversion and one for a touchdown. That was bad. But what did we see elsewhere that was good? Well, Jackson Dart did respond well. He gave them an opportunity to still be in the game. Absolutely, he did. We saw the defense come up with 2 takeaways, which is very positive. I mean, just to be fair, there were some positive things here. But clearly, the biggest positives are no injuries and Abdul Carter having a sensational game. But Brian Burns, once again, who we talk about each and every week, gets that fumble recovery off the Belton forced fumble and gives the Giants, I mean, they get 2 takeaways late in the game to give themselves a chance to get out of a very deep hole that they had crawled into because of the final 65 seconds of the first half. You see, here's what I've been complaining about for years with this Giants team, and this is one thing that has not gone away. Dan Solomon, the senior writer from Giants.com, wrote this in his advanced notes that were on the website, how Washington's defense was 6th best in the NFL in allowing fewest points in the final 2 minutes of the first half. I'm sure you saw it.
Yep.
Okay. And, of course, the Giants ranked 27th in that category because they had allowed well over 60 points combined in the final 2 minutes of a first half this season. That has been a bugaboo for this team for years. Folks, if you followed the New York Giants for a while, you know that the final 2 minutes of the first half, you want to close your eyes, okay, and just hold on for dear life because bad things are going to happen. And they happened again yesterday. A 13-7 game, as poorly as they played, and I do believe that the wind was a major factor. Dart was not as accurate as he usually is, although on a number of cases he was, there were other cases where he wasn't. I thought he also improved, by the way, in terms of how he handled his scrambles. I thought he did a much better job. There was only one play where he went shoulders first. There wasn't anyone really there to hit him, and he gave himself up. That one I kind of would have still rather he gone feet first, but everything else that he did yesterday, I thought he played much smarter in terms of his own security and protecting himself. So I thought that was a plus. But as far as the final 65 seconds of the first half, it's incredible how something goes wrong in so many of these games in that one little stretch of time. You get the punt return for a touchdown. You then get the interception where I wasn't thrilled with the decision to throw that ball because of the difficult weather conditions. Dart had to throw a tightrope to Hyatt downfield. And while Hyatt did not play defensive back on the play and knock it down, which is certainly the least you want him to do, the ball was significantly underthrown. It was low. It was on a line drive. You knew it was going to, as soon as he threw the ball, I knew he wasn't going to reach the receiver. That was pretty obvious to me. And so the interception then turns into a big return, which was dreadful, because now the Commanders get a free 3 points tacked on to the 6 they already had. So the Giants get outscored 9-0 in the final 65 seconds of the first half. It's now 22-7. I'll be honest with you, Matt. At that point, I'm thinking this quicksand is too deep. I'm not sure they can come out of this, but they do. They come out of it, and they make it a game. And, of course, they get a failed fourth down conversion as they're trying to come back. And, by the way, if you look at the All-22, Darius Slayton's wide open in the end zone. And he throws the ball short and low to Wan'Dale Robinson. Good play by the Commanders. The DB gets over there, but Dart simply had to look to the left, and Slayton was wide open in the end zone. All right, it happens. Rookie mistake. He stared down his receiver, and he paid for it. And then, of course, I think we've all seen the last play to Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but there was contact on the play, and who knows? If the Giants got it first and goal inside the 15, I'm not saying they take it in. I'm not. But there was contact on the play, no flag. In any event, a couple things I did like, though. They did hold Washington to 3 for 11 on third downs. You wouldn't sign up for that?
I would.
Okay. They did only give up 1 sack, and he threw the ball 36 times. He only gave up 1 sack. It's pretty good. Okay?
It is.
So, there were a few things that were, I don't want to say overly positive, but not quite as abysmal. I mean, I appreciate you're frustrated. You feel really bad. But we got to be careful not to paintbrush the whole game.
I mean, I hear you, but you could look at almost any loss and pinpoint very few specific things. You're like, well, this was good. Of course, I'm not saying that, but when you lose your 8th straight game,
oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yes, there are players, especially the young players, that had their individual performances yesterday that give you confidence going into next year and beyond. And mostly talking about Abdul and Jackson there. Because, again, in the second half, Jackson was great. I've watched the film
Which you
room.
said. You did say that.
Yeah, and I went back this morning, and I looked over the film. Even on the interception, he did throw the ball a little late. He's been throwing with anticipation since he became named the starter. That was one throw he did not. He kind of waited till Hyatt came out of his break.
He didn't get enough gusto on it.
And maybe
either.
it's because Hyatt hasn't played much. There's the chemistry that Jackson has with some of those other guys does not seem to be there with Hyatt. Hyatt didn't was not the most aggressive coming out of out of the route. Not to pinpoint that play on one person because it falls on both of them. But yeah, there are certainly some things you can look at and say, well, this was good. I'm not saying that there's not. It's just when you lose your 8th straight game, it's hard to focus on any of the good things when there's just so much bad going on right now.
Look, it stinks that you give up another horrible rushing game. The rushing defense just...
That's got to be I think that has to be the number one priority in the offseason. The thing is, we've talked about it being the number one priority in the offseason the last couple of offseasons, and unfortunately, it has not improved. I think it has to be the number one priority this offseason. In addition to building around Jackson, it's got to be figuring out a way to somehow improve this run defense. It's not going to improve overnight.
No.
You're not going to go from a historically bad rush defense to a top 5 unit in one season. But there's steps that you can take to go from the bottom of the basement where the Giants' run defense has been the last couple of seasons to, maybe middle of the pack next year. Would be a significant upgrade and something I think we would all sign up for.
Yeah, 144 yards rushing on 37 carries for Washington, way too much.
Yeah, I mean, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who has had flashes this season but has not had consistent, sustained success on a week in and week out basis, averaged over 5 yards per carry.
The run up the middle on the touchdown was just horrific.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we could talk about the bad points, too, because there's plenty of those. Okay? The net yards on the punts because of the big return for the touchdown was only 22.8 yards. That's not good. You can't have that.
No. And I was going to say, even if you take out the return touchdown,
it's still not good.
Jalen Lane on the other 2 punt returns, 28 yards. That's awful as well.
Not good.
No.
Not good. Belton got turned around by McLaurin on the touchdown pass.
Yep.
Literally got spun around. And smooth sailing, he's gone. And then at the very end of the play inside the 5-yard line, Adebo doesn't tackle, and Belton whiffs. So even after the long completion, they don't get the receiver down inside the 5. See, folks, I don't want you to think that I've ignored all the bad stuff because there's more bad than good here. Okay, but I also do want to point out some of the good things too. That's all I'm trying to say. I wasn't trying to kill you.
That's fair. It's just
I mean, 2 of 12 for this offense on third downs.
Yeah.
Not good.
Nope.
2 of 4 on fourth downs. Not good. The 0 for 2 on the field goals. Anyway. All right. That's
one thing I do want to discuss that I've just been discussed on social media a lot over the last, let's call it 16-ish hours.
Yeah.
The fact that Jackson Dart was taken out for another concussion test on that run, I mean, he didn't even get hit in the head on that play.
No.
I watched the replay from several different angles.
He did not.
He did not get hit in the head. The fact this has become a very big narrative now, Jackson protecting himself, taking these hits, where the league, and especially because the one time that the league did not flag him to get tested was the one time he actually did have a concussion.
Right.
It seems like they've just become very sensitive to this, and now anytime he takes any sort of hit, it's get him off. He needs to get a concussion test. I mean, every time he's been flagged for concussion test by the spotter, he's been cleared.
Right.
Every single time. The one time he wasn't
Right.
taken off was the one time he had a concussion. And the thing that just bothered me, I don't know if you had a chance to watch Sunday Night Football last night.
I did not.
So there was a play where J.J. McCarthy was running with the football and literally lowered his helmet and went helmet first into the defender like we've seen Scat do at the beginning of the season. Not what you want to see your quarterback doing.
No.
And yet Chris Collinsworth goes on air, and not to call him out because I think he's fantastic, but he goes, that's the sort of run the Vikings brought J.J. McCarthy in for. They love his aggressive running style and taking on defenders like that. And I'm watching, and I'm like, is this for real? Because if Jackson Dart did that, A, he would have been flagged for a concussion test, and B, everyone would be ripping him apart right now.
Wow.
I was watching. It made me so frustrated watching that. I'm like, you can't, for one young quarterback, say this is how he should run. He needs to be aggressive. That's why they brought him in. And then the other guy be like, he can't do it. He needs to protect himself. Jackson Dart is bigger than J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy has an inch on him. Jackson Dart has, I looked this up last night, I want to say 10 to 15 pounds on him.
For sure.
So he is more, compact than J.J. McCarthy, which you would think makes him a little bit more able to kind of take on hits and defenders like that. Not that any quarterback should be taking on a lot of hits, but it just really, really frustrated me so much hearing that and seeing, reporters and stuff, analysts on social media complimenting McCarthy for his aggressive run style, but then the same people rip Jackson for doing the same thing.
The inconsistencies in comments, see, that's part of what really causes a lot of the overblown narratives.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is why, like I said, I'm with you. 8th loss in a row stinks. Many more bad things than good. But what you've got to do is you have to line up all your vegetables on the table and say, these were good vegetables and these were the ones that were rotten. And you have to identify all of it. That's the reason that I do that, folks. I'm not doing it for any other reason. You have to look at all of it. Every point that was really bad, you got to say it. Every point that was really good, you don't ignore it just because you're so disgusted that you lost. That's the reason I bring it up. I'm not trying to be mean to you or anybody else out there.
That is fair. I mean, there are things from any game that you point to as like, this was kind of a positive. We need to build on this.
You hope so.
And I shouldn't say every game. I shouldn't say every game.
It's
Most
not always
games,
the case.
There are specific little things that you can pinpoint and be like, okay, the overall game was bad. The team did not play well. This individual thing, though, was good. We need to build on this and do this on a consistent basis week in and week out. So it's at a point where we don't have to just point it out because it was so good one week. It's become something that we're just used to seeing every week. Yeah. That's what the goal is to become.
Sure. No doubt. So in sorting through the wreckage, all right, that's kind of what we saw between the two of us at the game yesterday. Don't know if you guys saw some of the same things or maybe you saw something different. We would be happy to discuss. 201-939-4513 is our phone number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live, and we will go to the phones, and we will start with Jason in New Haven. You're first on the show.
Hey, Paul and Matt, how you guys doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I feel bad for you guys. You guys had to withstand all that wind and cold weather yesterday. So,
I'm going to be honest. We were up in the press box where it was nice and warm.
In the fourth quarter, I was downstairs.
Maybe not Paul.
And it hurt. It hurt. In fact, I was with Brandon London. You know, we had to do our hit on the MSG postgame show. And he was in serious pain. The wind was hurting him. It was hurting me too, but it was like, oh man.
Yeah, the only cold I had dealt with was waiting to get into the locker room after the game in the tunnel where it was frigid, and I, for some reason, did not bring my jacket down.
But you know what, Jason? To be honest, I'm not trying to be funny. It's been a lot harder just to watch some of these games and watch how the Giants have been almost there more often than not. That's harder.
Absolutely.
That's harder to watch than any wind, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. And Paul, you don't apologize for seeing the negative. I think a lot of times, and I think part of it is just too because we've just been a bad. I hate to say organization, but the product on the field has been bad for years. So I get why a lot of fans and media are just very, very, very negative on this team, and part of it is self-imposed. So.
No doubt.
You, Paul. There are some positives to take away, and I'll make a quick point so other callers. Abdul, absolute best game of the year. I like the way he responded to some of the things that he was lacking in terms of preparation. You know, I'm just going off of reports. I'm not, in the locker room or nothing, but hell of a strip sack. The forced fumble and the pitch. Man, he that is what we were expecting when we took him third overall. I'm just so happy that he responded and showed up yesterday. So just kudos to him, man. Just very pleased in what I saw from him yesterday.
And before anyone calls that a one-trick pony situation, remember, he had missed the first series of snaps against the Patriots because of a transgression, came back into that game and had a sack and played well against the Patriots.
Yes.
So he's actually had 2 good games in a row.
The last 3 quarters of that Patriots game, which is what he was on the field for, he played great.
He did.
It just got a little overshadowed by the situation, his benching for the first quarter.
So we're starting to see something there. The arrow's starting to point in the right direction.
I think the thing that made yesterday so great, as you mentioned, it was 2 games in a row of seeing it, which we haven't really seen from him. He's shown flashes, had like a good game, but then would kind of disappear in a sense the next week or two, and then show up again a couple weeks later with a good game, but not stacked good performances. So it was good to see him have 2 consecutive strong outings. He's got to be the guy that's these last 3 weeks are potentially the most important for.
Let's see him totally kick some butt. 3 tackles for a loss yesterday was really nice.
Absolutely. 2 other points, and I'll try to make it quick. I've been a big defender of this gentleman. I know from what I've heard, he's great in the locker room. He's had some big plays throughout his career. But, man, that drop by Darius yesterday, man.
I know.
I just, Dart didn't have a great first half, but I thought he responded very, very well in the second half. And that drop by Slayton, man, it just really, really upset me yesterday. I know he's going to be here next year because of the contract. But, man, he I don't know. I'm going to leave that alone. But I was just very disappointed in that drop. Last point, Matt, you made a great point, man. And this is just an overall arching theme that I have an issue with. The NFL concussion game evaluation strategy to me is one of the biggest jokes in the NFL. There's no consistency, and it seems completely arbitrary, right? I've seen a lot of quarterbacks this year, from May to Josh Allen. A lot of quarterbacks take some hellacious hits. And I didn't see in a lot of those games. I didn't see anybody called over. I didn't see a ref signaling anybody over, right? But for some reason yesterday, and I get it, has Dart taken some big hits? Absolutely. We're not disagreeing with that part, right? But my thing is this: yesterday, like you said, Matt, I didn't see any hit to his helmet or his neck or, anything like that. For them to have pulled him out, man, and he was right yesterday. I agree with Jackson Dart in his post-game interview. I don't understand what's going on. And part of it, too, and Paul, I'll end with this, Paul and Matt. Paul, you made a great comment a few minutes ago before I got on the phone. when we have to be careful with narratives, right? And for the last few weeks, the big narrative around Jackson, and some have been self-imposed, I get that, especially with the Ellis hit. But, man, we have to be really careful when we take these narratives, just in general. I'm not saying you guys or me. And we make it to be, well, this is the truth of the matter, right? I just don't like it, man. It just seems like the NFL is running with this Jackson Dart. Even yesterday, Jonathan Vilma, I know you guys probably didn't hear it, but even he was going crazy. Oh, why is Jackson Dart running? Why is he escaping the pocket? Well, he's going to get hit. He's going to do this. And it's like, yo, this guy's trying to win a game. He's trying to win. He doesn't like losing. You could tell in his face is agonizing. So I'll take the phone call off the air. I just don't like the whole. They need to really look at this concussion protocol in the off season because it seems very arbitrary and very helter-skelter. So I'll take the phone call off the air, guys, fellas. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Appreciate it, Jason. Yes, perception does tend to become reality, and that is a danger that all of us have to be very, very careful of. I will say this. You guys know me. I'm one who doesn't like to see my quarterback run a whole lot. I'm the biggest proponent of don't take off. And I can tell you, I thought he did a much better job protecting himself and did not put himself in harm's way. I was very pleased with his advancement in that area. And if I feel that way, knowing how much I hate guys to run around, then what does that tell you?
Yeah, 100%. So that was actually when I went back to the tape earlier this morning, the first thing I specifically went to look for. I pulled up each of his individual runs,
right,
and what he did at the very end of it. He had 6 rush attempts, I believe.
Yes.
On 5 of the 6, he either slid, gave himself up, dove forward, did something to avoid major contact. One of them being the play that he still got taken off the field for.
Correct.
He did dive down. He wasn't standing up, taking a hit from the 2 defenders. He dove towards the turf. There was only one run where it wasn't a big hit. He got taken down. It was a very normal tackle, but there was just one of the 6 runs where it was open field. The defender was close, was right there. There's no way he was going to escape, or he wasn't even close to the first yard, the sticks. He was still 5 or 6 yards short, and he got tackled. Obviously
he was still in the process of going down, though. He was giving himself up.
Not on that run, no.
I kind of thought he was.
He was just taken down. Again, it was the softest tackle.
We might be talking about a different. We might be talking about a different.
We probably
play.
are because it was not a big hit in the slightest bit. It was a very normal, just take the guy down. But that was the only play where he did not, quote unquote, protect himself when running the ball. And so I agree with you that he clearly. This is his eighth start now.
I don't even remember.
It seems like it's starting to
catch on,
really click with him. I need to be out there for my guys, for my teammates. And the only way to make sure that happens is by not taking so many hits. As he mentions every time this is brought up, it's a physical sport. He's going to take some hits. It's just the way it goes. But the biggest thing is being able to protect yourself from some of the unnecessary hits, which yesterday, I agree with you, I think he took a very big step in the right direction on that front, not taking some of those unnecessary hits.
And by the way, one other comment about a guy who I don't want this to go unnoticed because, look, I'm a big fan of Daniel Bellinger. On that one drive, he had 3 consecutive pass receptions. I believe it was for 50 yards for the 3.
Or 55.
3 in a row.
Yeah.
And then on the next play, they get down near the goal line. He goes in motion and he kicks out
35.
The edge defender. It was 35 yards?
Yeah.
He kicks out the edge defender so that Tracy could run in for the touchdown. It was
great sequence.
Great sequence for him. That's the kind of guy Daniel Bellinger is. That's why he is respected and loved in that locker room. Coaches love him. Players really dig him because he's the kind of guy who will do anything that's required. He's tougher than nails. And, I know he doesn't get a lot of pats on the back, and he is tight end number 2 here behind Theo Johnson. But the truth remains, he's a football player, man. Tim Kelly said that last week when he was talking to us. He goes, he's just a football player. Love having him on the team. and I hope he's still here next year. Just personal observation, because that one sequence shows you what he can do for your team.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, he is obviously tight end number 2, but he does a lot of things that, as great as Theo Johnson is and as much as we like him, he does a lot of things, sort of the nitty-gritty of the tight end position, that Theo Johnson does not do quite as well. Theo Johnson, obviously, is a great pass-catching tight end. No one's going to deny that. He's the best pass-catching tight end on this team. But in terms of the physicality and the blocking, that's Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger is the number 1 tight end on the team. I mean, Chris Manhertz would probably be up there too, but Manhertz just does not get too many snaps these days.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm with you. And every time he's got an opportunity to show off his hands, Bellinger that is, he takes advantage of it. I mean, we don't really, again, he doesn't get too many targets, so it's not like we don't talk too often about drops from Bellinger because he doesn't really drop the ball. But part of that is just not getting too many opportunities. But, yes, that was a great sequence. I was very happy for him that he had that little stretch, got put into the spotlight for a little bit. But you're right. I think the best play of that sequence was the block on the touchdown run, which is probably the play that's going to get talked about the least by most people.
Of course.
So it goes.
And before we get to our next callers, certainly send out some get well wishes to Micah Parsons and also to Patrick Mahomes.
Awful.
The league is not better off. In fact, it takes a big hit when its superstars have to sit on the sideline because of a serious injury. This is horrible for the NFL that Patrick Mahomes is probably going to miss, I would think, a lot of next season, if not the whole season. Who knows? Same thing with Michael Parsons, because you get hurt in December. You just don't know what the rehab is going to be for those guys, whether or not they'll make it back early in the season, middle of the season, late in the season. Is it better for them that maybe they don't play for a whole season and take a year off? We don't know the answer to that. But here's what we do know. Those 2 guys are 2 of the biggest superstars in the game today. And it stinks. It absolutely stinks that both of them suffered serious injuries yesterday.
Yeah, it's awful. I agree with you. And Ian Rappaport did just come out and confirm Micah Parsons' torn ACL. It was believed, expected, it is confirmed now. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it's rough. Unfortunately, it's part of the game. Obviously, the Giants, we know all about this. Malik Neighbors, it seems to be an afterthought now, but obviously Malik Neighbors, week 4, tore his ACL and has been out for the season. The only thing I will say is that ideally, if you are to tear your ACL, which is never an ideal situation, obviously, you want it to be towards the beginning of the season, like Malik's was in terms of the recovery and being ready for the next season. But Christian Watson, the receiver on the Packers, did tear his ACL late December, even later than this last year. And he's back playing. He missed the beginning of the season. I want to say he missed the first 6 or 7, 8-ish games, but has been back the last month and has looked fantastic. They always say when you come back from a torn ACL that first season, you're not really yourself and you don't look like yourself.
Right.
Christian Watson sort of looked like himself, if not better. So it is possible to come back, beat the timeline that people put out for you, and come back looking better than ever. And in terms of at least Mahomes' case, and I know I saw this on Twitter last night, very, very, I'm going to say weird how his timeline compared to Tom Brady's timeline in terms of at this point of their career, how many Super Bowls they've won, and then suffering the torn ACL. It matches up very, very oddly too similar.
Numerologists love to play that game. They do. That's what numerologists do. They match up these crazy numbers to
it was just crazy how closely they matched up in terms of Super Bowls before the age of 30, the success they've had in the league, and then the injury. And obviously we all know Tom Brady came back and had a pretty good second half of his career. So I have no doubt that both of these guys will be back at some point down the road, and I'm sure will look like their normal selves.
All right, real quick before we go to our other phone calls, anything up on the huddle expected this week that we know of that we need to promote?
Not that I know of as of today. There definitely will be stuff up.
There always is.
I don't know what Pearson and John.
I didn't know if there might be something in the can.
There definitely is. Not that
Gotcha.
I don't know what it is, though.
Giants Huddle Podcast. Search for it on all of your podcast platforms everywhere. John does a lot of long-form interviews with not only Giants personnel, but also a ton with NFL personnel as well. Quickly, want to mention this one, too. Special Olympics New Jersey's annual Snow Bowl is headed to Rutgers Football Stadium in 2026. The annual flag football tournament will be on the field from March 6th through the 8th in 2026. The 6-on-6 tourney will feature competitive recreational and co-ed divisions, and all proceeds benefit thousands of Special Olympics New Jersey athletes across the Garden State. Register your team today at NewJerseySnowbowl.org. That's NJSnowbowl.org. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. And it looks like we've got John in New Jersey next up. You're on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Hi.
Great show as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opinion, Paul. I think the special teams did us in yesterday. Actually, very winnable game.
Yeah.
And, and I feel like it's kind of twofold between not having the kicking personnel, which has been a problem now last year and this year, and then you have the coach who's attempting 52-yarders with a guy I'm pretty sure I'm not confident he can hit a 42-yarder.
You know, I want to can I address that with you? And if you just hold on a second, I'm going to let you finish. In terms of the 2 field goals, now, you know the operation is they will send the kicker out before the game, and he's going to kick, and he's going to test the wind and everything else. He's going to go to both ends, and he's going to come back, and he's going to tell his special teams coordinator what he feels comfortable with, and then they're going to talk it over with the head coach and let him know. Now, I don't know if there were any subsequent conversations because I didn't get a chance to talk to Kafka after the game. I'm in the locker room. I would love to know what were the conversations before Koo went out there for the 52 and for the 51-yard field goal, because it looked to me, and I don't know if, did he answer this? Did Kafka? I didn't think he answered it in terms of, was it an operation failure or was it just the wind took the ball?
I don't remember. I'm not sure if he was asked about.
I've been around a long time, my friend, and I'm not trying to make any excuses for anybody, but my experience and my eyes tell me when the ball hooks like that on a field goal, it means that one of those real nasty Meadowlands gusts came, took the ball and literally moved it like a Dwight Gooden curveball and hooked the darn thing 15 to 20 yards off course. I've seen that happen in this building too many times to know.
I'm not disagreeing with
right?
that. My thing is that if there were no wins, I wouldn't trust Koo with a 52-yarder.
Well, and that's your prerogative. I guess my problem with trying those field goals, and I would love to talk to, in fact, I'll talk to Gabriel, of course, this week about it. I just wonder, under those conditions, it seemed to me that was the bigger problem. And I'm not so sure that I would have been too anxious to kick those field goals, given the fact that the conditions were so variable and apt to wreck the kick. I mean, even Washington, the kicker missed an extra point, for goodness sakes.
That's what I mean. So
the only thing...
right before the second 52-yarder, it was JMS had a bad penalty, and then it's...
And that's the bigger problem.
Run the ball 5 yards. I mean...
That's the bigger problem. Yeah, you're right. That penalty, that's the bigger problem. You get that penalty, and now it makes the kick a real nasty proposition.
Yeah, the only thing that Kafka said after the game yesterday about the field goal situation was he was asked why Younghoe Koo was sent out, I guess, the second time, and whether or not the first miss, factored into his decision for the second one. And he said, basically, it did not. He was inside the line that we had discussed. So clearly I know. With the second one was at 51 yards. That was within, the line that they said, if we get within this distance, we're going to try the field goal. It was within that based off of, I guess, pregame and how Younghoe Koo was kicking in the pregame. Obviously, it did not work out.
See, during the game, I don't know, were you at the game, sir?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I actually watched this at about 1 in the morning.
Oh, my goodness. I feel bad for you.
Live, so
did you get to sleep afterwards?
Yeah, I got sleep.
If you were in the building, what you would have seen is that one goalpost flags, the one where the kickers had the problem, was flapping.
Right.
The other goalpost was not.
That's why I was curious, because they actually kicked the second field goal. I believe it was after the quarter. So I was wondering which side. He was kicking it regardless, it seemed like. So I'm thinking the same thing as you. You got to find out if one side was better, and then they switched the sides. It seemed like his mind was made up. You know what I mean? I just found it very odd for a guy who's coaching for his coaching future to make that decision. But anyway, go.
I do appreciate the issue and the inquiry, because I'm going to ask myself. But go ahead.
And one more thing. Can I just get you, and I know it's tough to comment because I know you guys are in the building, but the Debo and Holland, I mean, I'll give you my opinion. I feel like, I'm not scouting these guys before the season, but I feel like Holland, I'm watching the tape, and he seems like he pulls up at the end when he's in run defense. I'm expecting a safety to be more of a smash mouth guy, and I don't see it out of him. And I'm not seeing the interceptions, and it's very underwhelming. I feel like we were hoping they would shore up that defensive backfield, and it seems like it's another question mark. But that's all. Another disappointing one. But I still don't think we're far off. I think we're right there if we get the right, some more personnel and the right coach. I don't think we're too far. But anyway, thank you guys.
Appreciate the phone call.
Thank you, John.
I'm not gonna pull any punches on this one. Quite frankly, I think both of those veterans have not performed to the back of their football cards. They just haven't.
Yeah, I mean, look, when the Giants went out and signed the two of them in the first, 48 hours of free agency, or agreed to deals with them, the big storyline around that was that, look, the Giants just brought two guys that are just playmakers that force turnovers. I mean, the biggest thing with Debo is how many interceptions he had in his career prior to coming to this team. With Holland, obviously coming off last season wasn't his best season. He'd be the first one to admit that, but previously was a playmaker for the Dolphins secondary. And you're right, it just, so far this season, we have not seen them create any sort of big plays. I mean, Debo obviously dealt with the injury that forced him to miss however many weeks he ended up missing. But Holland's been out there just about every week, I think. And even when Adebo's now healthy and back out there, and you're right, they're just unfortunately not coming up with any sort of the big splash plays that, was a big reason why they were brought here in the first place.
They certainly have not lived up to their advertised billing at all, either player. And those are two of the guys that I'm really, really looking at hard during the offseason to say, hey, we need you to play like you're supposed to play. But that's been the case with most of the defense this year, to be fair. They're not the only two. We're not going to single out those two guys.
Oh, no.
Outside of Flott and Burns, everybody on that defense needs to play like they're supposed to play, and they haven't done it. We go to Rich in Virginia. You're next on the show. Hello.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays, Godfather and Matt. And
you too, team. Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Same to you.
So, have you guys heard anything about restructuring contracts on the big salary players like Okereke, AT, and Brian Burns? Because obviously that would help us out next year to fill some gaping holes in free agency by getting more cap money. Have you heard anything?
As of now, no. I mean, at this point of the season, the only reason to do any sort of restructuring now would be to clear cap space for the 2025 season, which I don't think is necessary at this point.
Right.
So any sort of moves like that would be once the season ends. There's that 2-month period leading up to the start of the negotiating period at the beginning of March. Probably sometime in like February, the month of February would probably be when a move like that is done. Not now.
And Rich, honestly, the team doesn't make that stuff public. The only way it comes out is if the agent decides he's going to put it out there and the trade wins.
Yeah, I figured they're going to say that, but I had to ask because you're in the building. Second thing is, we go back to 61 and we have a conference call every week, 3 diehards, actually even older than me. And we have a saying, and Paul, I really appreciate your honesty today, is we have a saying called SOG, same old Giants. Some things that just never change that they can't fix. For instance, they can't cover the tight end. You go back to Jay Novacek. They couldn't cover him. They can't cover the tight end today. The run defense. If you listen to Carl Banks, and he's on with Papa every week and believe, he is absolutely incredulous that our edge guys get sealed off on that outside run by 180-pound wide receivers. I think John said last week the Giants give up more runs, or an average of 7 yards on the outside runs that leads the league. That's why it's just so frustrating for us diehards. Did you see the same things over and over and over? And that's why we say, same old Giants. It's just frustrating. And you hit the nail on the head today, Paul. Yeah, there's some positive things here, but it's just incredulous that they cannot, they cannot stop that outside run. They can't cover the tight end. The defensive backs. Totally agree with your assessment of Holland and Adebo.
Yeah.
By the way, it was Adebo on that McLaurin touchdown pass. His technique to try to tackle Terry McLaurin was over the top, and he fell off.
Not good.
I mean, come on. It's just so frustrating. The fan base, we are at the, it's just incredible, just incredibly frustrating. And, we go back to the period of the mid-'60s where the defense gave up an NFL record of over 500 points. But my gosh, it's for the fan base, and I guess I speak for everybody. It's just so frustrating with no changes.
See, Rich, the issue that you've got to figure out now, nobody can really understand the psychology of what a season gone bad has on individual players. That is a very difficult thing to quantify. Parcells taught me this many, many years ago. And what you don't know when you're watching a player play under these circumstances is, did you over-evaluate, right? Did you over-evaluate what you thought that player was or what he could be? Or did all of the circumstances and the losing and the misery that's been happening and collapsing on the team wind up taking him psychologically out of his game to where he now becomes part of that implosion, if you will? And is he being damaged by the implosion? Can you now dig him out of that? And that's the big question the Giants are going to have to ask about a number of their players. For example, Adebo, Holland, are these guys going to next year with a breath of fresh air and an off-season to regroup? Are they going to become the players that the Giants signed? Look at the tape of Adebo with the Saints. He's really good. He's really good.
No doubt.
So is that guy still that guy? Or has he been so damaged that he's not that guy anymore?
I know, but good point. However, they've been like that since the beginning of the season. Let's be honest.
Well,
but back to the first point you made, absolutely critical. That evaluation process on the draft and the free agency is Joe Shane's responsibility and his scouts and his evaluation team. Now, he said during his press conference he's going to evaluate anything. He better be evaluating himself. I don't want to get into a long discussion on Joe, but I've been really disappointed in him and his record. I mean, you're a big Parcells fan, as am I. Remember, you are what your record is, and that's the facts. So you're reinforcing my point on the first part. Evaluation of talent. They're human beings too to make mistakes, but he's missed. I mean, it's as a Giants fan, you got Evan Neal, a top 5 pick. He's not even playing. Hyatt, they moved up to get him. Oh, my gosh, you only have 7 picks in the draft. You got a hit.
Well, let's talk about 2 other guys who we don't know now. Tyler Newman. He's gone in the wrong direction.
Yep.
He was really good as a rookie, right? We all thought the world of him. This year, not so much, right? Banks showed a lot as a rookie. He's gone in the wrong direction. So what are these guys? Who are they?
Right.
I don't know.
That goes back to my point, question. Paul. The evaluation team. It is a crapshoot, but
now,
when you look at the data, there's more misses than hits.
But the question becomes, were those guys either misevaluated or did circumstances implode them? And can they be resuscitated? That's the question.
It's a huge question. Again, that's football operations.
Anyway, Rich, appreciate the call.
Always, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Be well. We have seen many teams, as we talk about, Lance always says, in the last decade. What is it, like 5 teams every year for the last decade who didn't make the playoffs the year before make the playoffs the following year.
Yeah.
Part of that is they get luckier with health. Part of it is their schedule. Part of it is players have bounce-back seasons. Part of it is changes in coaching staff. There's part of it is the influx of new players they bring in the next year. There's a lot of reasons why teams can actually flip it. Giants haven't flipped it for a while. Can they flip it in 2026? And how many of these guys need to be part of it if they're going to flip it? This is a very complex answer.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just going back to, I guess, what Rich first asked about, we don't know about restructuring contracts and stuff, but like,
No,
if
that's
you
not
look
something we're involved in.
No, but if you look at the players that are under contract next year, I'm not going to name any specifics, but there are some guys that I don't think it would surprise any of us if the Giants do decide to move on from them in order to save cap space. I mean, there's a couple of guys where
Right.
it would not be very surprising just based on like playing time. If guys that are
economics.
yeah, if guys are set to make let's just hypothetically $5 million, but the guy doesn't see the field at all, there's a good chance that they will move on from him in order to save that money. So in terms of that, you could look yourself at the players and how much they're making next year and evaluate that yourself, which guys, might find themselves potentially on the block. That we're not going to do that ourselves. But in terms of just, the turnaround, obviously in an ideal world, the turnaround that we would all like to see going into next year is what we are witnessing right now in New England. They had won 4 games last year with their rookie quarterback.
Great point.
They fired their coach. They brought in a new head coach, a lot of roster turnover, and now they are one of the top teams in the AFC. And I'm not saying that's the road the Giants are going to go down, because the Giants have a lot of work to do. Obviously, we're 2-12 right now. There's a lot of work to be done. But my point just being, it's not impossible to turn things around. There will be significant changes this offseason. The whole building today, what it looks like now is potentially going to be a lot different from what it looks like a couple months from now. So there is a chance to turn things around. I think the turnaround here might be a little slower. I'm not going to necessarily say I expect us to go from, 2-12 going into week 16 this year to double-digit wins next year. You got to take it one step at a time, but there is the possibility, and I think a decent chance, if the right people are brought into the building to help lead this organization. If they bring in the right head coach, I don't even know who that is.
No,
I have no idea right now. I go back and forth on names that I've heard of who I might be interested in. We'll save those discussions for a couple weeks from now when the season is over. But
right.
It is possible to turn things around. I just don't want fans to think that I'm saying it's going to be a flip the switch sort of turnaround. It's going to take some time.
Much to my dismay, Bill Parcells is retired, unfortunately.
But from where we are, the only direction you can go is up.
Yeah. One more call. Len from Columbia, Maryland. You're last on the show today. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
What do you say, Len?
Well,
how are you, Len?
Well, let the evaluations continue. That's all we can do at this point. Top to bottom on football operations, we're going to have to make some decisions. But make no mistake, we can't fire 75 people. We're not going to fire 75 players. Some of these guys are coming back. The real determination is who are the guys we're going to build around, the so-called core. Can we even get to 10 names? I don't know. I haven't done that yet, but I think that's where it starts in terms of the, turnaround. I have to admit, I'm not as disappointed. Well, I should say I'm more frustrated than I am disappointed. I know you guys remember I'm probably the original a year away from being a year away guy.
Yeah.
But I thought we'd be a little further along this year, and that's where the frustration comes in.
Sure.
But we got to find those. We got to find the key players. We got to get a new leader in the locker room. A new coach. Ownership's got to make a decision about Joe, whether or not he's the right guy to take us forward and help pick the next coach and organize the draft and so forth. And then we got to find some good players out there that reinforce that we can build around. I haven't given up. I'm still looking at 27. That was my thought, last January, that we got to get off the mat and we got to build a little bit. And I guess that's, to live to 27, a lot of good things have to happen in 26. But we got to do it step by step, but it's sure been a frustrating run. Let me mention a couple of things about the safeties. But by the way, I have this personal feeling that I apply to basketball, Major League Baseball, basketball, even hockey with free agents. It takes time. It takes a little time for them to get in the groove. I mean, it's a whole different environment in the locker room and in the community. They go through a lot of changes. I always think, and I'm hoping this is the case with Holland and Adebo, that the second year is better than the first year. I think that I see that in baseball sometimes, and I see that in basketball, and I really do believe that the second year, maybe I'm being foolish about this, guys, but I do think that the second year is always a little better than that first year when you're a free agent. Let me say something about the safeties. Jeez, guys, have you ever seen three safeties, and I'm going to include Belton in this, who do more the closer they get to the line of scrimmage? The further they're away from the line of scrimmage, the worse it gets. I was hoping it would be the opposite. I mean, do you guys understand what I'm saying? I mean, Newman made a couple of plays yesterday behind the line of scrimmage, right? Belton makes plays behind the line of scrimmage. Holland makes plays close to the line of scrimmage. You drop them 10 or 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, and it is chaotic. I don't get it, guys. Can you respond to that for me, please?
Well, they've long talked about box safeties as opposed to center fielders.
Yeah.
Newman at Minnesota was a ball hawk and a center fielder.
Yeah.
So this is one of the mysteries that the Giants have to solve.
Yeah.
Len, when I said before, and we could go into each individual player if you like, but it'll take forever.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
They've got to figure out, why are a number of these players not performing to the back of their football card? What are the reasons? Are the reasons irreparable? That, okay, that player is not that guy who we thought he was, and he can't be fixed. Or, hey, maybe we made a mistake. We thought he was that guy, but he's actually this guy, and that's on us, and that's our fault. They got to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
And if they can figure out, okay, this is what's wrong with him, but we can fix that. We can clean that up, and we can get him to be him again. That's what you really want.
You need safeties who can get to the ball. I mean, how many tipped passes do our safeties have?
Look,
I mean, you don't even need all of your fingers on one hand.
Newman and Adebo, whether it was Newman in college or Adebo in the NFL, have been turnover machines. That's all they did.
Paul, they can't get to the ball with us.
All right, so how is all of that tape?
The second year will be.
Len, it's very simple.
There was a play in the first half on a third and, I don't know, geez, it may have been a 3rd and 15, where Mariota threw a ball to along the sidelines. Noah Brown, okay? I mean, Noah Brown he's a player on the Commanders. He's no special receiver, and Holland was right there. I mean, you got to make that play. You know the play I'm talking about?
I understand.
Yep.
See, the problem with these guys is that they put a lot of tape already, in front of you, whether it was NFL tape or, in Newman's case, college tape. You look at all of that tape and you believe what you see, right? Antro Roll always said, believe what you see and the tape doesn't lie.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if that's what it is.
This guy don't lie. That's
all
for
right.
sure.
So then I have a right to expect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Giants aren't getting that.
Listen, quick one. I don't want to use up too much of your time. I know you're at the end here, but let me say something about Slayton. It seems to me that if Slayton can kind of corral the ball close to his body, he's a better receiver than when he has to stretch his hands out. Am I seeing things, Paul? I mean, those two drops yesterday were on his hands.
Yeah.
He's a better receiver when he can cradle it to his body.
Yeah, I think that's
but
probably true.
I don't know if it's depth perception or whatever it is, but he just, and the touchdown that he scored, the long one that he scored against New England, I guess it was his only touchdown of the year. When he caught that ball, he just exploded over the middle. He ran through the two safeties.
It was great.
He exploded.
I know.
I mean, that's the speed that he has, but geez, those hands, it's just whenever he seems to stretch out, and when he's stretching out, his elbows seem bent. They're not really extended. It almost, I know he's not trying to short arm it. I'm not going there, okay?
No.
I mean, he's not trying to short arm it, but it just seems like he short arms those. When he reaches out for that ball and his hands just can't corral him. I don't know. It's again, more frustration than it is disappointment. Hey, 3 games left. Let the evaluations come in. Continue. Let's win some games. Jeez, we got to win some games, guys.
All right, Len.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Take care.
Go Giants. Go Giants.
Final thought?
I will say PFF just put out their Team of the Week. They named Abdul Carter their Rookie of the Week for his strong performance. That is one positive to take away from yesterday.
Justifiable.
Yeah.
He
would have been confusing to me if someone else had won that.
I would think, right? All right, that'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. And we have, as always, come to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. We will be back with another show tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, for a live edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. And as always, you can catch this show on the archive on the Giants Podcast Network and all of your podcast platforms everywhere. From Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time.